No. Ah, thank you. That I got fired. I no accident. I'm not that lucky. All right. Good evening. We're going to call the meeting to order. We're a few minutes behind, but we will pick up the speed, I promise. So if we can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Feels like we never left. I know we have a lot of exciting things. New school year. I don't want to steal Dr. Stiniak's thunder, but a few comments I'll just make. First of all, I went to the superintendent's convocation. Very nice to see the entire staff here. Everyone's exciting, new employees. So we have a lot of good things to look forward to over the next few months. I know there was a little bit of a glitch in the 5th grade class here at Fayette. I know personally because my daughter's in the class, but we took care of it immediately. So, again, I'm glad that everyone was happy to reach out to Dr. Stiniak and myself. So, we took care of that right away. Secondly, I'm just going to make a comment on this. Yesterday it was brought to my attention that there was some material on Chromebooks in other school districts that were controversial in my eyes. I mean, not appropriate for all school age kindergartners through 6th grade. The Chromebooks were from BOCES. I did call Dr. Stiniak to see if that material was accessible and just to find out more information. And this was, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And Dr. Stiniak, of course, got on it right away. And we got a little bit more information in case, social media, and there's some flyers going around other school districts. So I just want to have all the parents aware that we took care of it right away. And it was Brain Pop and another Pebble applications that were installed on these Chromebooks that if you went in there and you search certain things are going to pop up. So we blocked those filters right away. And I'm just going to remind all parents, I'm going to go on the record right now, because that's what we do, Neil, as attorneys. We go on the record that, just want to remind all parents that's your responsibility to monitor the usage of these Chromebooks. You signed agreements to use it, and you're supposed to only be using it for school assignments. And we're not using any of those materials that are on, these applications for any classwork, and we don't do tutorials or anything like that. So just use the Chromebooks as they're supposed to be used, and I think we took care of that right away. We have a few other things. We have a few motions to, I think, discuss. So I'm going to keep my comments brief. Welcome everyone back. I look forward to seeing everyone Thursday night at Fayette for back to school night, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Stiniak.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Welcome back to school, everybody. Our opening of schools for the students, first and foremost, couldn't have asked for a better weather day. They were smiling, they were happy, and the sun was shining. Can't ask for more than that. We truly believe that they're smiling because the day before we have our meet, greet, and treat activity outside where our teachers and our staff actually get to meet their students, and it takes that anxiety away. And they also got a little treat, which was a drawstring backpack. And I think we have one each for the Board of Education today. So glad to share that. Also, when our staff came back, we had 2 wonderful days of superintendent's convocation. We did something a little different this year. We had a motivational speaker, John Paul Gonzalez. His big slogan is "All In," and you should Google him. He is truly amazing, and he was well received. And it really gave us that boost that I think we all needed. So we're all in, folks, all together. We also started our UPK program this year. We have our scope class housed at Camp Avenue, but we still have students at TLC, We Friends, Over at Brookside, we have some, and then we have at the Merrick Woods over here. So looking forward to seeing them in kindergarten. Boy, they look small. They look super small. Although we're not used to having 4-year-olds here. So we're very excited to bring them on. Mr. Carter and I had the pleasure of attending a Safety First evening at Nassau County Police Department facility on the grounds of Nassau Community College. Wow, what a facility. It's absolutely gorgeous. We met with the commissioner and actually representatives of all units from police, and it was truly informational, and it just reminds us that we are constantly being educated on how to provide safe environments for our students and our staff. And we continue to do that in our professional development sessions and our practices. And safety first, that's our first priority. And everything else after that is much easier. So thank you all. So happy to see everyone. And enjoy this week. We have open house on Thursday. Boy, I was looking at the October calendar. We have a lot going on for our students. We have our parent university. We have trunk or treat on Friday, one of those weekends, and just looking forward. And I see some of our PTA parents are here. We had our PTA district council meeting yesterday. Always a pleasure. Nobody supports our students more than our PTA representatives. I've worked in quite a few districts across Nassau County in my career. I've never seen the magic that our PTA brings to our students. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts here at the Board of Education and Administration.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve our routine approvals, 3A, 3B, and 3C. Motion by Ms. Miller. Have a second? By Ms. Moran, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Public comments. The first one is agenda items only. Our guidelines are any person wishing to make comments or raise questions shall fill out a comment card. After you are called, please come forward to the microphone and state your full name. All comments or questions shall be directed to me or Dr. Siniak. The board or administration will do their best to immediately respond to any questions. Out of courtesy and fairness to the rest of the audience, each person will limit his or her remarks to no more than 3 minutes, not to exceed a 30-minute session, and public discussion with respect to confidential matters is, of course, prohibited. So if we have any comments on just the agenda items only, great. Okay. We're going to ask for, we're going to go into our business. We have a few, and I'm not sure where the motions put to the side, or we have a few walk-on motions, but I'm going to ask to break those out. So I'm going to read. Sorry, I'm going to read F. I'm going to do a consent 80. Yeah, but okay. I was going to read F. But okay, whatever. Touch City, whatever. All right. I was going to do a motion to approve A through E as listed on the agenda. Motion by Ms. Keene, second by Ms. Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Now we have a few walk-on motions. The first one, I'm going to break them out separately. So the first one's F. The Board of Education approves the late transportation application for transportation for one student to St. Elizabeth Ann Seton at no additional cost to the district. So we have a motion by Ms. Keene, second by Ms. Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, I'm going to read these next G, H, and I motions. We'll just read them first. G, the Board of Education rescinds its resolution from August 24th, 2022 to transfer $550,000 from the fund balance of the general fund to the retirement contribution reserve as of June 30th, 2022. H, the Board of Education rescinds its resolution from August 24th, 2022 to transfer $222,165 from the fund balance of the general fund to the reserve for employee benefit accrued liability as of June 30th, 2022. And I, the Board of Education approves the revision of the transfer on August 24th, 2022 of $650,000 to $122,165 from the fund balance of the general fund to the capital reserve fund 2019 as of June 30th, 2022. Neil, can I ask for discussion or have to do a motion? Can I ask for
Motion
discussion
first, right?
first?
First there'd be a motion.
But what we don't want to make a okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make I'm gonna ask someone to make a motion
Motion.
and then seconded by Tracy Miller. And now I'm gonna ask for discussion on the motion. Before we do discussion, I would just like Dr. Siniak and Mr. McDade to maybe just explain what these three motions, what their impact are, and have a discussion. Thank you.
Okay, I'll begin. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Ryan. So as the public is aware, we have been placed on the susceptible to fiscal stress list by the State Comptroller's Office. There's two reasons we appear on that list. We went out for a tan in the fall of 2020, and we also had a very low cash flow. Most times that designation is a 2-year designation for school districts, and you can only change what you can change. That we had already gone out for the tan and we weren't able to take that back. And the reason we went out for a tan, it's ironic, we had a low cash flow because we did not collect our taxes on time due to COVID. So how do you improve your cash flow? Well, that would be increasing the amount in your fund balance. So our fund balance and our reserves is one lump sum of money. So what these resolutions are doing is rescinding 2 resolutions from our last meeting in where the Board of Education was approving allocations to 2 different reserve funds. One was the Retirement Contribution Reserve, and the other one was the Reserve for Employee Benefit Accrued Liability. And the third resolution was to decrease the allocation to the capital reserve from $650,000 to $122,165. Why? Because in speaking with our auditors, R.S. Abrams and Cullen and Danowski, we would need $1.3 million to be kept in our fund balance to be able to increase our cash flow and therefore be off of the susceptible to fiscal stress list. So by doing this, we would then pierce that 4% that the State Comptroller's Office states that our fund balance must remain at. Now, school districts historically have gone over that 4%. Specifically in 2020, there were many school districts that had extra funds because sports were canceled because of COVID, transportation, and they exceeded that 4%. Well, what is the consequence of that? In our audit report, we will be told that if the board so chooses to move forward, that we are over that 4% and we must make a correction the following year and bring it back down to the 4%. So what these resolutions are doing is reallocating that total amount of money. So that $1.3 million, how would we get that back into reserves? We are awaiting federal funding. We do not have that cash on hand. That federal funding totals anywhere between $1.4 million and $1.6 million. Once we receive that cash in hand, we will be able to then allocate that cash to these 2 reserves that the resolutions are being asked to be rescinded and increase the capital reserve back to the $650,000. Mr. McDade, did you want to add anything to that?
That is 100% correct, Dr. Seniak. Thank you. So now, one of the things, just to know, and Dr. Seniak said it, is this is just more or less a placeholder for a couple of months. The reserve
Temporary situation.
Correct. Once we receive the money, we'll be able to reallocate it back to the reserves. The total reserve fund balance by doing this is still going to be exactly the same. It's still going to be $6,070,336.
Can you say that louder? I don't know if everyone heard you.
$6,070,336. Okay, so that amount is not going to change at the end of this. This is basically, like we said before, taking it from one savings account, holding it in another savings account for a couple of months just to cover us till we receive the money we're supposed to receive from the federal government. Once that happens, we'll be made whole, and then we'll have a board resolution again to basically refund the reserves as they were going to be done before.
I guess I'm gonna open up for discussion, but I just want to ask Mr. McDade, do we have any idea when we might get those federal funds?
Hopefully before January.
Any discussion on the motion?
So does this move cost us any extra money?
No, does not cost us any extra money.
And we have to do this by October 1st.
What happens is we're closing the books for the financials. For the audit, it has to be filed with the state October 15th. That's why at the next board meeting, you'll be accepting the financials and the audit report. Next board meeting, the RS Abrams will be coming to this
So-
board meeting.
Let me ask you a question. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but because these are very important,
Yes.
I think, items, and to have them on as walk-ons, it's a lot to kind of absorb, right? And they don't even know, I don't think anyone even has these motions in front of them. But in any event, and this was, I applaud both of you, Dr. Siniak and you, Mr. McDade, for trying to find a way to get us off the fiscal stress list, because I know that it's something that every board member, it's a concern. It's a concern of Dr. Siniak every day. We've been discussing it. But I don't want to feel rushed, and I want to just make sure that we understand the board members understand exactly what's being presented to us.
Right.
Can this wait if you're closing it out on October 15th? If the auditors are coming, is this something I'd like the auditors to come and explain, you're doing a great job, but I'm just asking if we had a.
Unfortunately, at that October meeting, everything has to be presented to them in the next couple of weeks so that they can review the financials and everything to be able to do the report for you in October when they
Okay.
come here.
Okay, so it'd be too late.
The October meeting would definitely be too late.
Would the board be, I don't know, I don't know how you feel about this, but do you want the auditors to come in to discuss this with us?
I'm
Do you
okay
wanna have
making
We can have a
decisions tonight.
special meeting. We have weeks. This is not
Yeah.
something that has to be done tonight.
I think that I personally am okay making that decision. One thing I want you to reassure the community, there's no way we're not going to get that money, right?
Correct.
That's a federal
Yes.
program that's not refunding, but that's a federal program that's giving us that money. And I'm sorry, am I too loud?
Correct. The expenses have
Thank
already
you.
been made, and the money is allocated for us. We will be getting that money. It's not like it's an iffy thing, no.
Yes, so I feel comfortable making that decision tonight. I don't, and
And that's why it's also already considered into the financials already.
And that money is going to be replaced as soon as it comes in, is that correct?
Correct.
And we'll be able to ask the auditor questions when they come.
Right.
in, so.
But it would be too late. We've done
Yeah, but
already.
it's already done, so
But
we can
they'll-
still ask them questions though.
Right,
And
those-
they'll explain it to us a little bit if we need to.
they'll see it all.
Right.
So it's not, it's not like they're not going to see it. I'm comfortable.
Has this been done in other school districts, to your knowledge?
There's been many districts that have exceeded the 4% fund balance cap. Yes, correct. And some have done it for multiple years. And like Dr. Seniak said earlier, one of the main reasons, this is because of COVID, once again, that we're doing this. We're waiting to receive the COVID money. If
Cash in hand,
Cash
we
in-
don't have the cash in hand, so we can't count that as revenue at this point.
And then how
Yeah.
long would it take for us to get removed from the fiscal stress list?
when they come out with it the next time, which is,
February,
I think
January?
it's March they came
Okay.
out with it. around then?
Usually get
Because they-
notified by March.
Correct. What happens is then for the fiscal stress list, they look at our ST3 when we file the ST3. We have to file the ST3 by October 15th. That's the other thing. So we have to start working on putting all the numbers for closing of the books now because it takes a little time to be able to do all that stuff. So then on October 15th, when it's filed with the state, they'll start looking at the fiscal stress of all the schools. They'll pull all the numbers from the ST3. And then around March is when they typically send out that report for the 21-22 school year.
And then I just want to go over again, the consequence for piercing that going over the 4% would just, we get a letter reprimand from the auditor. Is there any consequence? I just
What'll
want to be
happen is
clear.
there'll be a recommendation in their audit telling us that we went over the 4%. We'll have to do a corrective action plan telling us what are we doing to get off of the
You're
fiscal.
going to put the 1.2 million back.
Correct, yeah. What are we doing
Should
to
be
get
back
under
by
the
then.
4% by the following
Okay.
year?
Yeah,
And we're going to be doing that as soon as the money comes in. So this is only a temporary
situation.
situation.
That would make us be removed from the fiscal.
And that'll,
Resulting.
according to our accountants, this will then remove us from the fiscal stress for the 21-22 school year.
Sure.
Is it possible to get the auditors in short order here so that you can speak to them?
They've been available to me for the last week. I'm sure they can. It might be via Zoom, not tonight, but I don't know. But, might not be in person.
And what would the questions be, just out of curiosity? Because maybe I can even,
I think we've already anticipated what the auditors will say, correct?
The auditors are basically going to say the write-up of going over the 4%. That's all this does
I
is
think
going.
I think the point is that we-
having a third party, having the
No.
auditor saying, not us saying. I think it just gives us another level of, security and it passes more scrutiny. I mean, I believe you and I believe Dr. Stiniak, but, having it come from, the auditors, like they come in and they speak to us anyway and give their report out. I don't see what the harm would be if we called a meeting, and had an opportunity to speak with them and take a vote that was, I guess, published too ahead of time.
I just have a couple of things to say. I'm, no surprise, not comfortable with this. For those of you that know me, I want to get off the list, but it doesn't fix our actual problem in terms of our lack of cash flow in North America, unfortunately. We'll get off one list, but we'll be put on a different list when we go over the 4% cap, right? Well, which list will that be?
It's not really a list. It's just an audit comment from the auditor. It's not a list like the strict fiscal stress list. It's just a comment from the auditor saying that we went over the 4% fund balance.
And then we're moving around 1.3 million, but we're only what we've been promised from the state.
No, the total we're talking about before is about 1.4, 1.5 at least that we're waiting to still receive.
That's from the,
Guaranteed.
that's from the federal government.
Federal, not state, right?
Just federal.
Yes.
Tom, do you know if any other component schools have ever pierced the 4%?
There's been numerous districts that have pierced.
I mean,
the
the components, I mean.
Components, I know Merrick did it, was at 20%.
Yeah, Merrick was at
For a little while.
Oh, okay, and we're doing this 7 point something, right?
What's the percentage that we
We would be at 7.61%.
So if I'm understanding correctly, you have a certain amount of money. Some of that money is kept in reserve, some of it is kept in the general fund. Because the money in the general fund has not been as high as it should be, you get dinged for having that flash cash flow accessible. What this move is going to do is move money from the reserves into the general fund for a temporary period of time, so that when in order to use our accounts, we have sufficient funds in there to not get points on the fiscal distress list, so that when the fiscal distress list comes out, we won't be on it anymore. And when the federal money comes in, we're going to make those reserve funds whole. And throughout the whole process, it's going to be the same amount of dollars ultimately under the umbrella of our bank accounts.
Correct.
Of our reserves and our fund
Yes.
balance, and then we would go back to the 4% in fund balance.
And I think, as Mary pointed out, though, I just want to recognize that the board realizes that this fix, temporary fix here of moving the money around helps us get off the fiscally distress list, but it doesn't address the root causes of our low cash flow.
I don't think that's correct though, because we are getting the low cash flows because we haven't received the funds
Right.
from the federal government, which we had no control over. And if the timing of this audit and the fiscal stress list was different, then we wouldn't have to do this, and we wouldn't be in jeopardy of being put on the list again, because we get the money and then we could move that 1.2 or 1.3, I think we're getting
Correct.
differently.
And we've also calculated.
Dollars are COVID relief funds that are only here for this year, maybe next year, and then will go away, right?
But
Yeah, but
we have-
these are funds that have been expensed already.
Yeah.
So
Right.
this is money that we've already spent the money. We're just waiting now to receive it because we have to do now filings for it because it ended at the
Yeah,
end. of the school year.
and the only, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but the only reason why we were on the fiscal stress list was because of COVID. It was not
Right,
because
we didn't
of-
receive our
we didn't-
taxes,
yeah,
so
we didn't
we,
receive the
and we
amount.
had a low cash
Yeah.
flow, and we had to go out for a tan, and we never had gone out for a tan before, so we got the points for the tan, the points for the low cash flow.
And
And
we've also, with the accounts projected also for the following year, so for the 22-23 year,
which
we
is
would
this
be
year.
offered again for that one too. So we would-
Right.
For a multi-years.
And then if you look at the reserve-
We would be offered again next year. We wouldn't have reach the 25 points again.
Right. And then when you look at the reserve plan,
Yes.
we have a plan to increase that cash flow as well as replenish our reserves.
and go back to the 4%. We wouldn't.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
the
go back to
4% we would go
4%,
back to immediately. The reserve plan is a
So we do have a
multi-year
plan to address the root cause. We do have a plan to address the root cause, which is the cash flow.
Correct.
Okay.
Part of that plan, we went out for a tan again. We as a board approved going out for a tan again last month. So did we really address the problem? Because we went out for another tan.
What winds up happening, I'd say the majority of school districts do wind up going out for TANs each year, because what happens is, as discussed at the last board meeting, we don't receive our taxes till the end of October. So you're doing expenses in July, August, September, and almost all of October. So almost 4 months worth of expenses that you're running without receiving a dime of your taxes. Our budgets are basically funded almost fully through the taxes and state aid that we receive. We don't receive that till October.
And the library piece, we
Yeah.
pay the library prior to the receival of our taxes.
So there's another $1 million that we pay in the library for the library taxes that we haven't even received yet. That comes out of our cash flow. You know, that's one of the things. If we didn't have to pay the library, we'd have an extra $1 million before we even receive the funds from the state. But that's for the TAN purposes, not for
Right.
fiscal stress action.
Yeah, we're not short the money with our budget. We're just, the cash flow is the issue. So this is a temporary, that's what you have to do if you don't have
It's
the
just a
cash flow.
timing issue.
It's
Many
timing.
districts are in the same position. They have all these funds for 4 months that they have to spend, expense, and they haven't received that taxes yet either. So once they receive it, you're fine. One of the good things, as discussed at the last board meeting, what we're doing that I don't think many other districts do, we're paying it back earlier. We're
Yeah,
not waiting
March.
to the end of June because we don't need it for that.
That's a good
We
point.
just need it to get through a couple of months of like October, November, December, to get through that and get our full amount of taxes and our state aid. Once we receive that, we're good. So we had to hold off to, I think, because you're going after 10, we had to be 6 months. So I think that's really what it is that we're doing. So we're not doing a full year, we're only doing 6 months. So that's another positive that we're doing.
And Tom, you're comfortable doing this, you're recommending this to the board.
Yes.
You spoke to the auditors, you spoke to other school districts, and this is something that,
This is
because
something
you're gonna,
that'll
you're gonna
get-
be the one dealing with this when we, if we go.
This will get us off the fiscal stress list. It's just looking at where the money is actually. Yes, we'll be over the 4%. We'll get written up for that
Momentarily.
But there's plenty of districts that do that. And a lot of times people go over the 4% because, okay, they have a project that they want to do. So they're going to go over the 4%. Like I think maybe Merrick did the security
Yeah.
vestibules. So they were over the 4%. They had that set aside, that they had a plan in place. There's a specific reason why they were going above the 4%. We have a specific reason why we're going over the 4%. The specific reason why we're going over the 4% is because we're waiting to receive that additional money from the federal government.
And, so go ahead.
Why is it that we have to go over the 4% in order for our free cash to be enough to not
Because-
get points?
Because the way it,
No, go ahead.
the way it works is, okay, so we have $6 million. I'm going to try to keep the numbers, these aren't exact numbers, just to keep it simple. We have $6 million in our reserve and our fund balance, okay? But of that, we don't have that all on hand. We have about maybe 4.5 million, we'll say, on hand, because we're still waiting for another 1.5 million in other money to come in. But we have to, since we're guaranteed that money, we have to account for it on our financials. So it's accounted for our financials for the 6 million, but now in our bank account, we only have 4.5. So now for this whole setup, for the ST3, what they tell us we have to do, out of that $4.5 million, we have to take restricted reserves, the ERS reserve, the TRS reserve, the EBLAR reserve, take all that out because that's restricted. It's only for a specific purpose. Once you take all that money out, what's left? Okay, that's your 4% fund balance and your appropriate fund balance. Well, we still haven't received the full 1.5 million yet. So that's why it's a little bit lower. So by doing this, we're taking the 1.3 million from the reserve. We're not allocating it right now for a couple of months, putting it into the fund balance to be able to float it.
And you can assure the board that we will be back to the 4%
Yes.
next year. So
Yes.
this is the one-time deal of,
Yes.
of
And
go
that's what's
pierce
going
to
to
the
be written.
4%.
No, sorry. And just so you know, when the write-up does come in the audit report, like I said, we have to do a corrective action plan. That will be approved by the board at that time too. You'll approve the plan, and in the plan, it's going to state exactly what we just talked about. You know, that we did go over, the reason why we went over it, we're waiting to receive the money. As soon as we receive the money, which we anticipate receiving in a few months, we're going to go back down to the 4%. We have a plan in place. There's a specific reason why we're going over it this year, and this is the only reason why we're going over it.
It's actually very easy to decrease your fund balance, just for the record.
True.
Any further discussion on the motion? So we have a motion pending, a motion to approve G, H, and I. All,
This week to see the auditors first.
No.
I'd
that
say
would
vote.
be- That, if you, we could take a vote, or we could take a vote to table. So I mean, the vote's out, the vote is right now, the vote's been called. I mean, so I'd like to finish.
Can we take it to the table first?
Well, we already had a motion, right?
Well,
already have a motion on the table.
we can, but we are allowed to make a motion to table the motion since the motion's out.
Yeah, there's a motion on the floor, but then there could be a preemptive motion to table. That motion to table would then get voted on, have to be moved, have to be a second. If it doesn't receive then it would vote upon, if it doesn't receive an affirmative vote, then you go back to the motion that's on the floor.
I'd like to say, I am comfortable now after hearing your very thorough explanation. And I think it was important that we all heard that. And for me, it was, so I am comfortable. But in that being said, there's a motion right now. So, now we are doing a motion to table. So we need someone to second it. All in favor to table? So that motion fails. Okay, so now the motion to approve G, H, and I is now on the table. So motion to approve, we have a second. So all in favor, I'm going to say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so motion carries. I'm going to set up and motion, any opposed? Ms. Keen. So if you can note, Ms. Long, that Ms. Keen opposed, everyone else in favor, motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Siniak and Mr. McDade, for putting this together and thinking of this, because I think it is going to be valuable to get our district off the distress list. And I appreciate your diligence with this and moving this forward. Thank you.
I'd like to also just let the public know that we did receive a confirmation email from our auditors, Cullen and Danowski, that by putting the $1.3 million into the fund balance, that we will be off the fiscal stress list.
Thank you.
Colin Danowski, the accountants.
The
I'm sorry.
accountants.
Okay. A motion to approve the personal actions report 6A, but we are going to, amend it 7.2. We need to change, there was a typo. So I need a motion to approve the PAR report with the change, the amendment to 7.2 to making it year 2023 and not year 2022. So motion by Ms. Keen, seconded by Ms. Miller, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. A motion to approve 7A through 7D. Motion by Ms. Keen, seconded by Ms. Miller, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Report of committees. High school. Who's doing high school night?
I'll do it.
All right.
Okay. Actually,
Mr. Corona.
took a picture on my phone. Hang on, where'd my notes go? My phone's at 8%, so I'll say it quick. All right.
Uh-oh.
So at our last meeting, the principals gave a opening day report to each principal from every school, told us about the activities and how things went, and it was glowing and very exciting. Looking forward to a very great year for the Belmont Merrick Central High School District. Then our assistant superintendent gave an academic review of the 21-22 school year. So a couple of things. Yes, our region scores in the Central High School District did show a slight decline, but that was the case statewide, and indeed the entire nation saw some declines, and our decline was actually much lower than the county average. So our rate was still above the county average rate of region scores. But our AP class participation is way up across the entire district, okay? Our participation rates are once again well over Nassau County averages. 85% of our graduates go on to a 4-year school, 10% go on to a 2-year school, and 5% enter the workforce or join service academies. And that's pretty much what we had.
Great, thank you. School committee, PTA council.
I'll do this.
All right, Ms. Keen.
Just the PTAs are just continue to be incredible. Their beginning of the year is very exciting, a lot of new stuff going on. So I'll try to get through this as fast as possible. Camp Avenue, their welcome back picnic is this Friday. DJ Cotton Candy, all that good stuff. Their sixth grade class will be selling pizza and ice. That'll be a sixth grade fundraiser at camp. Picture Day is September 30th. They're bringing back a bunch of their after school events, jump bunch and chess, and trying to add a couple of new ones. Working on some tennis and drama club, and which I heard about from the Fayette PTA. Their next PTA meeting for Camp Avenue is September 28th, and they are going to do a Zoom. They're going to alternate between Zoom and in person for participation purposes because they find they get more people with Zoom. So September 28th at 7:30, and they'll send out a Zoom link and a bunch of fundraisers going on. All 3 PTAs joined together. 3 out of 4. So Camp, Fayette, and Old Mill joined together to do the Ducks game, which was last week, and that was great. And they're doing an Adventureland fundraiser at the end of October. So very exciting things going on. OMR, great things happening. They had a great September 1st, the first day of school, a new parent tea, which was awesome. September 29th, they have the Harlem Wizards Assembly already set up. Again, welcome back picnic is this Friday, weather permitting. Great. That's just always a great event. So we're excited. Everyone's excited about that. There'll be fundraisers. Yeah, all really great things. The Mums sale is starting, and pickup is going to be September 30th. Picture Day is happening October 3rd. The yearbook people have been picked. And September 19th through October 28th is going to be Reflections. The theme, Show Your Voice. So their next PTA meeting is September 21st at 7 o'clock in person. And then Fayette, also their PTA meeting is the 21st at 7 o'clock in person. Lots of good stuff coming up. October 29th, Adventureland from 5:30 to 8:30. Outdoor movie night, September 23rd. There'll be popcorn, cotton candy, and water for sale. Amazon Smile fundraisers going on. Yeah, a lot of really great stuff. And of course, SEPTA, which SEPTA is a part of all the PTAs, but that's the PTA that it's for all 3 schools. It's one, but it's works for all of them. And September 20th at 6:45, they have a read and eat event. This is a free event for all SEPTA members. It'll include a school bus treat activity. And all the PTAs would love for membership to be really strong right now. So joining your home schools PTA and also SEPTA would be awesome because all of the PTAs want their membership to go up. And also their executive boards are all incredible. They're so incredible. They pretty much do everything. So if anyone wants to step up and help out the PTAs, they would love for some volunteers to just help spread the wealth a little bit there.
Great, thank you. A lot of good things happening. Mr. Carter, Building and Grounds report.
Hey, everybody. It was good seeing all of you at the walkthroughs prior to the meeting. Thanks for coming out, those who were able to attend. So we went from opening schools to tons of busy work, adjusting legs on tables, moving chairs, getting different chairs, kidney tables. The guys have been moving furniture for, a week and a half straight. So they've been doing a great job with that. Just helping everyone get settled in. Minor repairs throughout. Adjusting doors, that may not have been used all summer, and now they're getting used, and we want to make sure all the doors latch. That's obviously one of our biggest safety things. Dr. Seniak mentioned earlier that we attended the seminar with the Nassau County Police and every police department in Nassau County, so all villages, all cities, they were all there just to assure us that we're in a good place, and they showed us all the safety gear they have, what each police car would be expected to have in it on our campuses, and what they're capable of. And it's very impressive. And the building is beautiful. So we're trying to figure out something to do there.
Trying to figure out how to get the kids there.
Yeah, he offered it up, for our use because I guess the academy just graduated. So it's empty and we're going to try to do something cool. And just lots of little repairs, water heater stuff, ongoing, normal buildings and grounds activities. had a couple of leaks. Hadn't rained all summer. So when it finally did rain, we found some leaks. Guys are on the roof taking care of that today and tomorrow. And that's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Big shout out to you and your team for opening schools safely.
That's right.
With
That's-
all of the buildings, the 3 schools, and the magic again just continues.
Thank you. Thank you. I owe it all to them. They did an amazing job.
The buildings all looked beautiful.
Great work. Thank you. Communications, Ms. Long, any?
We haven't received any.
That's a first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know.
Unfinished business. Any unfinished business with the board?
It's real quick. I know at last time, Mr. Luciani brought up to discuss kind of revamping the budget development process. Do we want to discuss that when we finish the calendar? Or
Right, next month.
Okay, next month. Okay, I just want to make sure that we know that the board is working on that and something's coming soon.
Great. New business. Any new business to be brought up tonight? Okay. Public comments. I'm not going to bore you reading the guidelines, same guidelines, but this is now not agenda items. So anyone have anything they'd like to discuss in your 3 minutes? Please.
I didn't fill out a card. I don't know.
Oh, I need a card. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'll never
Good evening.
think of hearing someone getting a 10 the same way ever again after this conversation. So, but just wanted to follow up from the last time I was here regarding the computers and being brought home every single day for the kids, especially like the kindergarten and first graders. If that was ever brought up with the teachers to see if we
Yes.
can kind of keep that, like let the kids know that they can keep it in classroom some days, not bring them home every day.
Well, we did follow up. We had an admin meeting and it was discussed with our principals. And we did ask them to speak to the teachers to ensure that balance occurs. They do need to bring them home to be charged,
Sure.
but as you said, doesn't need to be every day. So logically speaking, a balance would mean if the Chromebook's going home, then all the books aren't. Maybe some paper may go home in a folder, but
Yeah.
it should not be both. And our principals are here, so would you like to add anything to that?
Put them on the spot.
I figured, why not? Right, that's it. And, but again, the balance, we're going to assure the parents that we're not going to send 10 books home with a Chromebook.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public commenters tonight? Okay, I'm going to ask the board to, I want to make a motion or ask for a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment history of a staff member. So a motion by Ms. Keen, second by Ms. Miller, all in favor?
Aye.
So the board's going to go into executive session at 7:46. Have a great night if you're not.
Have a
Here,
great
come
night.
Back out. Have a great day.